The NASCAR Xfinity Series race has concluded from Darlington Raceway, and we see fantastic racing, a massive big pileup, and a driver come back from a speeding penalty with a fantastic finish, and Kyle Larson picking up the victory. What's going on, guys? It's Daniel, and welcome back to our video. I just got done watching NASCAR Cup Series race from Darlington Raceway, the Shriners Children 200. We got quite a bit to talk about from this race. Let's go ahead and talk about it. So, for the green flag drop in today's race, Brennan Poole, Kaz Grall, Jeb Burton, Joe Graf Jr., Sage Karam, and Blaine Perkins would all have to go to the rear front of prove adjustments or being in a backup. So at the start of the race, he had John Hunter Nemechek lead the field from the outside with Ryan Truex on the inside, and John Hunter Nemechek was able to get a really strong run and was able to clear for the race lead with Sam Mayer jumping up to second. Then in lap 4, the first caution would drop for Sammy Smith, who basically did not even spin out, just saved it, but NASCAR decided for whatever reason to throw the caution. I don't understand how you throw the caution for Sammy Smith right there. He definitely was able to keep going. I don't understand why the caution came out. So then on the next restart, you had John Hunter Nemechek lead the field from the outside with Sam Mayer on the inside, and John Hunter Nemechek got a really strong run, but then Sam Mayer was able to get a better restart and was able to clear for the lead. Then on the next lap, Sammy Smith started spinning, but then they don't throw the caution right there. So they throw a caution the last time, then they don't throw a caution this time for whatever reason. Then we basically saw some really good racing happening behind you. Kyle Larson was really stronger early and jumping up to third and second, one of the few cars that get up to the front and was jumping up to the lead pack. And then on lap 39, Jeb Burton bring out the next caution for spinning in turn number 4 from 28th position and brought out the caution to spin out on the apron with Kyle Larson up to second. So then all cars would come down pit road except Jeremy Clements, who decided to basically come down here, decided to stay out. Also, Ross Chastain also decided to stay out. And Austin Hill actually won the race off pit road initially, but then basically the driver who won the race off pit road would be Kyle Larson. Meanwhile, Sam Mayer had a really bad stop, and Justin Allgaier got caught for speeding. So then on the final restart, you had Jeremy Clements lead the field on the outside with Kyle Larson on the inside, and Kyle Larson got a really strong restart and was able to clear a pole about a second ahead, and he would come off the corner and win stage number 1. Meanwhile, during this time, Riley Herbst had gone to the garage and was done for the day. Then he had a bunch of cars come down the road who did not pit during the last caution, so Kyle Larson would reassume the race lead from the outside with John Hunter Nemechek on the inside. Kyle Larson would get a really strong run and was able to clear for the lead. Then on the next lap, a caution would come out once again for Parker Retzlaff, who's front for 19th position after he and Josh Berry had some contact down the front stretch that would bring the caution down, and Parker would get a ton of damage. So then on the next restart, you had Kyle Larson lead the field from the outside with Sam Mayer on the inside, and Kyle Larson got a really strong restart and was able to clear for the race lead. Yeah, Parker Kligerman, who started having some problems from 10th position, was luckily the field stayed green. And then lap number 61, trouble would strike for Anthony Alfredo, who got into the outside wall and basically got in the back of Parker Kligerman. Then Sage Karam got turned in front of Stephen Parsons down the front stretch, bringing out the caution. Sages came up in front of Stephen Parsons, not really much to that. So then on the next restart, Kyle Larson lead the field from the outside with Sam Mayer on the inside, and we saw Kyle Larson get a strong restart. As we were going to turn number 3, the big one would strike. Yeah, Sheldon Creed and John Nemechek made contact. Sheldon basically tried to send it through the 3 wide down to turn number 3. He would spin out of some contact with John Hunter. Then he saw a bunch of other things going on where Austin Hill, he also started spinning out, and a bunch of drivers would get a ton of damage in the big one, including Sam Mayer, Sheldon Creed, Stephen Parsons, Brandon Jones, Daniel Hemrick, Chandler Smith, Ryan Truex, John Hunter Nemechek, Austin Hill, Brett Moffitt, Ryan Ellis, Sage Karam, Parker Kligerman, Jeremy Clements, and Carson Osbar would all get damage on the wreck. Look, Sheldon Creed was being a little bit over-aggressive, being a little bit impatient, and that's what caused the big one. Austin Hill also got loose and spun out, basically trying to battle, I believe, Ryan Truex, I think it was, 4-4 position, who unfortunately spin out, and that would bring out the caution. The red flag did not come out, though, and we go back racing on lap 76, with Kyle Larson lead the field from the outside with John Hunter Nemechek on the inside, and Kyle Larson was able to get a really strong restart and was able to clear for the race lead. But then 5 laps later, Ryan Ellis would get in the outside wall with the flat tire and stop his car and bring out the caution once again. So we saw a little bit of strategy where guys like Carson Osmer and Daniel Hemrick, Sheldon Creed came down pit road while the rest leaders stayed out. So then on the next restart, Kyle Larson lead the field from the inside with Cole Custer on the outside, and we just saw Ty Dillon spin in the inside of the track. Luckily, though, he was able to stay green, and Larson had the race lead. Meanwhile, a really strong finish started happening between John Hunter Nemechek and Kyle Larson. They battled really hard in the last couple laps. John Hunter's car was really starting to come into play, but Larson's car also was pretty good. But as they're coming to the white flag, John Hunter made up about 2 or 3 tenths. It was on the back bumper of Kyle Larson. Going down the backstretch, they were basically side by side, and John Hunter sends it into turn number 3 and nearly hits the outside wall. Larson goes back down to bottom. They go down the front stretch, drag racing to finish line side by side, and John Nemechek would hold off Kyle Larson and win stage number 2. Just a classic, fantastic finish to stage number 2 with John Hunter Nemechek. So then all the other guys came down pit road. The lead lap cars came down pit road with John Hunter winning the race off pit road. He had Greg Gall and Carson de Silva stay out. Meanwhile, Kyle Larson would unfortunately end up getting a speeding penalty on pit road. That put him in a very difficult position. So then on lap 99, we went back green with Carson de Silva leading the field from the outside with John Hunter Nemechek on the inside. And Carson de Silva got a decent restart, but John Hunter Nemechek was able to clear for the race lead. Meanwhile, Kyle Larson was driving all the way up to the front, and within 20 laps, he was already back up inside the top 10. Meanwhile, Sam Mayer, he came down pit road from a flat tire and would lose a couple laps, taking him out of contention. And then on lap 126, we have another caution come out for debris going into turn number 2. I believe from Parker Retzlaff's car, the caution would come out because of that. So then we had all the cars come down pit road with John Hunter Nemechek basically winning the race off pit road at the time, with everyone else coming out, with Kyle Larson actually gaining a position on pit road as well. So then on the next restart, you had John Hunter Nemechek basically take the restart and have the race lead on the inside with Justin Allgaier on the outside, and John Hunter was able to get a really, really strong restart and was able to clear for the race lead. Meanwhile, RSS started having some problems. You had Ryan Sieg basically end up having issues, and then the next lap, Kyle Sieg spun off some contact from his teammate Joe Grapp Jr. and went inside wall really, really hard and would bring out the final caution of this race. So then, we basically get to the final restart of this race. You actually had some guys come to pit road, Cole Custer, Ty Dillon, Anthony Alfredo, and Sam Mayer came down pit road while everyone else stayed out. So then, on the final restart, you had John Nemechek lead the field from the inside with Justin Allgaier on the outside, and Kyle Larson, who got the 3rd position, would jump into 3rd. So then on the final restart, John got a really strong restart and was able to clear for the lead, but Kyle Larson was right behind for 2nd. It became a really good duel between Kyle Larson and John Hunter Nemechek, as Larson's car was better on the longer run and John Hunter's car was better on the short run. As they're coming to 2 or 3 laps ago, Kyle Larson was starting to make up a ton of ground and was starting to gain a lot of ground as they were going into turn number 1. As they're coming to the white flag, they're battling really, really hard, and Larson got it down to 0.2 of a second. As they went to turn number 1, Larson was on the outside, sends it to the bottom, and they go down the backstretch side by side, and they're banging doors back to back multiple different times and really, really racing hard down the front stretch, backstretch. As they're going to turn number 3, Kyle Larson would send it and pass John Hunter Nemechek slightly, and John tried to make a move to the inside, but there would be little contact. Larson got on the outside wall coming down the front stretch, and Larson kind of had nowhere to go, and unfortunately got off the wall and got into John Hunter Nemechek, and coming out the final corner, after many trials and tribulation at Darlington Raceway, Kyle Larson has finally won at Darlington. Man, talking about that finish, just an incredible finish in great hard racing. A lot of people are going to say that that was dirty from Kyle Larson. Hey, just like last week, that was really good hard racing. I really thought that was clean, really, really fun racing at the end. And you're going to sometimes have someone unfortunately wreck in those situations. I don't think Kyle Larson did anything wrong, really had no room and nowhere to go. And I think Kyle Larson did everything he had to do to win this race. And just congratulations to Kyle Larson. I don't think John Hunter should be really pissed about that. That was really good and fun and hard racing, and I absolutely enjoyed it. And Kyle Larson has actually finally won a one-on-one duel with another driver, because we know he cannot seem to win one-on-one duels. He finally's done that today. And going back to talk about Larson, Kyle Larson, I think, had the best car. That car was really strong, and not for that speeding penalty. I think he dominates this race, leaves more laps than he ended up leading. But still, good to see Kyle Larson win. He's now only the 2nd Cup driver actually to win in 2023 in the Xfinity Series. So congratulations to Kyle Larson on picking up the victory. But going back to that finish, an all-time classic finish for the ages. So, we're going to talk about the race results as a whole, and I give you my score of today's race. So Kyle Larson picks up the victory. Justin Allgaier finishes 2nd. Justin Allgaier had a top 3 car a lot of the day. Started pretty far back in the race, but his car really was good on the long run, especially a great run from Justin Allgaier in 2nd. How about Cole Custer rebounding to 3rd? Great strategy call. He wasn't going to probably win the race, but still a very good comeback for Cole Custer in 3rd position. He's been really getting the ball running and turning the corner, especially over the last few weeks. Great run for Cole Custer. Austin Hill finishes 4th. Considering he had a lot of damage on that car from the wreck, the big one, he still bounced back to finish in the top 5. Great run for Austin Hill. And John Hunter Nemechek after wrecking. John Hunter had the second best car in my opinion all day. A great day for John Hunter Nemechek to get a top 5. Yes, he ended up wrecking on the last lap, but it could have been for him. But still a great day for John Hunter nonetheless. How about Carson Osevar finishing 6th? You know, Carson Osevar started back in 25th place. And this is the first time Aspire Motorsports had raced in the Xfinity Series. To see Carson only his second start finish in the top 10 is absolutely impressive. Yes, there's a little bit of maturity and a lot of growing up he has to do in the Truck Series, but what a day second start for Carson. And if not for those mechanical gremlins with the 07 team for Bobby Dotter's team, he might have had a top 10 run there. So fantastic run for Carson Osevar. Josh Berry finishes 7th. Josh Berry was quiet all day, really uncharacteristically quiet at Darlington. He's been historically really good at Darlington. Just a shame he didn't run better, but he gets a top 10 finish in 7th. Sam Mayer finishes 8th. After his issues, he comes back and finishes in the top 10. Sam Mayer was really strong early. Seemed like as the race went on, his car kind of went away, but still a very solid recovery nonetheless to finish in 8th. Kaz Grala finishes 9th. He was like 30th at one point in this race. Fantastic comeback for Kaz. He was in the top 5 near the end of the race as well. So a very good run for Kaz Grala. And Corey Heim finishes 10th. Great run for Corey Heim. They didn't mention him a ton on the broadcast today and was quietly having a solid run. Good run for Corey Heim. Sammy Smith finishes 11th. Sammy Smith, solid comeback for him. Was terrible in the first 2 stages. Great comeback for Sammy Smith in 11th. Basically spinning out multiple times. Good comeback for him. Jeb Burton finishes 12th. Not a bad run for Jeb Burton. Parker Kligerman had issues in stage number 2. Solid recovery, finishing 13th. Jeremy Clements finishes 14th. Andy Alfredo, very solid top 15 finish. Daniel Hemrick with the damage. He recovers to finish 16th. Josh Williams finishes 17th. Not a bad run for him. Ross Chastain finishes 18th. Ty Dillon, who was kind of someone who was terrible at the beginning of the race, bounces back and gets decent top 20 and 19th. And Brett Moffitt finished 20th despite damage. He's run top 10 for the big damage he got. It's a shame he didn't get a better finish than he deserved. Patrick Emerling finishes 21st. Seven Parsons finished 22nd. Brandon Poole finishes 23rd. Parker Retzlaff finishes 24th. Sheldon Creed, after all the damage he suffered, he finishes 25th. I think Sheldon had a really good car before all the situations happened at the end of that race. They still finished 25th. Javier Hart finishes 26th. Ryan Sieg finishes 27th. 28th place finish for Matt Mills. 29th for Greg Gaulding. 30th for Ryan Sieg. Kyle Sieg, excuse me. Sage Karen finishes 31st. Joe Grab Jr. finishes 32nd. Ryan Ellis finishes 33rd. Brandon Jones finished 34th after crashing out. Ryan Truex finishes 35th after crashing out. It's a shame. This is potentially Ryan Truex's last race of 2023. Really disappointing news to hear there. Hope he gets to run more this year with another team. Chandler Smith finishes 36th after crashing out. Blaine Perkins finishes 37th. And Riley Herbst, after the tire issues and going to the garage, finishes last in 38th place. So now let's talk about the overall race as a whole, and I'll give you my score for today's race. Honestly, the Xfinity Series race I thought was really, really good. Fantastic racing up front. A lot of long runs early in the race. There was a lot of caution in the middle, which kind of hurt the race a little bit for me, but I thought this race overall was pretty good for the most part. And yet an all-time classic finish that I think a lot of people are going to be talking about. Just a fantastic race overall for me. I absolutely enjoyed it. Just a really fun race at Darlington. And Darlington always, regardless of what series you go to, yes, truck race is really good for all those cautions came out. But this is definitely a really awesome and fantastic race from start to finish. I'm going to give this race overall an 8.5 out of 10. Actually, a 9 out of 10 for me. This race would have been a little bit better if it had not been for a lot of those yells in the middle portion of the race. But that wasn't from all the stage yells and all the gimmicky stuff. And yes, NASCAR did hurt that with the beginning of the race. But I thought this race is very, very good and a classic, fantastic finish. I'm going to give this race a 9 out of 10. So that is going to be the NASCAR Xfinity Series race review from Darlington Raceway. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please like, subscribe to the channel. Notifications on so if I win a video, it does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and support me on Patreon as well. Links are below with that, and comment your thoughts below on today's race. What are your thoughts on today's race? Let me know below. Let me know your score in the comments below. And congratulate Kyle Larson on picking up his first victory of the Xfinity Series in 2023. Tomorrow on the channel of the NASCAR Cup Series race review from Darlington Raceway. Then on Monday, we're going to have a NASCAR news video discussing some NASCAR news they've had over the last couple of days. And also have the Truck Series race picks for the All-Star race as well. And we got a lot of awesome content dropping on the channel as well as we get closer to North Wilkes weekend. I'm really excited about that. So anyways, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's race review, and I'll see you guys next time for more great, awesome NASCAR content and other motorsports content on the channel like this. Take care, everybody.